Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm featuring my betta fish. I feel like the betta fish is like Pluto for the planets. Forever it was called Beta, and apparently now it's Betta. This betta fish is in, which I don't like personally, but anyways, this betta fish is in a 65-gallon tank. A lot of people, would say that the betta is the most abused fish in the hobby, probably right next to the pleco. Obviously you see them in fish stores in those little tiny cups, and what that tells you though is that these are one of the hardiest fish that you could possibly keep, meaning it's going to be one of the hardest fish to kill. So it's a great beginner fish. A lot of people don't know that they can live in a community quite well. As you can see in this 65-gallon tank, I have an assortment of fish. I have some denison barbs, which are these fish. 3 of those. That's a type of headstander from South America. They just went behind the plants there. Here it is. I'll come back out in a minute. I have 3 mollies. 1 Bosemani rainbow fish. I had 2 others, but they did die. Got some snails, some frogs, and then there's a really cool, 3 really cool fish in here. They're called rope fish, and they look like basically underwater snakes. They're very cool. There's also a fire eel that lives under this driftwood, which will come out if I feed. There's the rope fish swimming around. You'll see them come in and out. But yeah, so the thing with they're also called Siamese fighting fish, right? And the deal with these is, the minimum tank you can have is obviously very small. You can have a fish, just one of those like goldfish bowls, with no filter or anything. And then of course all the way up to, you could have a giant community tank even larger than this 65-gallon, as long as you have the right tank mates. I actually, in this tank, there are a couple fish, mostly these denison barbs, because a lot of bettas will have long flowing fins. This one doesn't have much of the flowing fins, and I bought one on purpose that wasn't very, didn't have long flowing fins, because some of these fish, like these barbs, like I was saying, can nip at long flowing fins. So you just have to be mindful of, who you're putting them with. So other than that though, if you do have a long flowing fin betta, if you really want one of those, then you can keep them with something like a school of neon tetras or cory cats. There are 2 small cory cats in here. I don't see them right now. If I see them, I'll point them out to you. And there's the fire eel sticking its head out. That fish will get really big and go in my larger 120-gallon tank eventually. It's only about 6 inches long right now. There's the rope fish. But yeah, so as far as tank mates, it really depends. It depends on the type of betta. They have short fin and long fin. So short fin, you're going to get away with more semi-aggressive fish because they can be a little bit aggressive, but not really. Compared to like my 120-gallon African and American cichlid tank, if I threw that betta in there, it'd be destroyed in seconds. So they're really more semi-aggressive, but really they're actually can be quite peaceful also. So it really depends. Every betta has a lot of personality, and that's one of the reasons people love them so much, is they do have a lot of personality for a fish. They're up there in some of the highest personality that you can get from a fish. When it comes back out, I'll feature it better. But yeah, they don't get very big, 2-3 inches max. Obviously, they come in a great assortment of color, and this is just your kind of your classic blue. But they'll come in every color you could possibly think of. Especially now, they're more popular than ever. But again, they're extremely hardy. They can live in really harsh environments. But of course, you want your fish to be healthy, so you really should treat it like any other fish that you're keeping and have good filtration and do weekly water changes and make sure your temperature is at the right, temperature for the fish you have, etc., etc. But yeah, these are absolutely beautiful, very fun, personable fish. And clearly you can keep them, I think my tank is maybe one of the more unique tanks that a betta is in. And especially with those rope fish, I think it's a pretty cool fish. But they're a fun fish to throw in a community tank. Again, if I wanted to make this even more peaceful, this tank has been kind of my dump tank. A lot of different tanks have kind of ended up here, fish from different tanks. So it's not really, this was not an intentional stocking list, if you couldn't tell. But you know, if I were to redo this tank, I would probably, you know, I would add a school of neon tetras, and you know, maybe a school of Cory catfish, and you know, have really beautiful schools, and then have like the betta as like kind of the feature fish, and then at that point you could get a long fin and really enjoy like the full beauty of these fish. So yeah, again, you can keep them in a super small tank. Oh, there's one of the frogs, and here's my clown pleco. But yeah, you know, you can keep them in a really small tank, but they're really beautiful in big tanks. You know, you can keep leveling them up. Like people, if you start out in the hobby and you start out with a betta, it's a great fish because again, they're really hard to kill. They'll eat anything you throw at them pretty much. You know, flakes, little pellets, bloodworms. They're really easy to take care of. But you can continue to get larger tanks, and depending again on what you decide to put in those tanks, you can keep your betta, or you know, or replace your betta if it dies from old age or whatever. Or if you're learning and you kill it, they're easy to replace, and you can upgrade your tank over time and continue. If you really enjoy having a betta, a lot of people just have this kind of stigma that you need a small tank, like because they're typically in small tanks. But as you can see here, the 65 gallon, this is a tank that's 3 feet by 18 by 24 inches. And, you know, it's got a lot of interesting things going on in here. So, yeah, if you have any questions, comments, go ahead and leave them below. And please like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. All right, thanks so much.